Hey guys, how's it going? ItZMuRdA here. Wanted to do a Hossin flyby video like I did for ItZMuRdA when the ItZMuRdA changes were happening, and hoping to be able to accomplish that right now. The activity there has been a little bit more active. Here's one of the many loading screens. Some flora for you, and fauna. Has been a little bit more active, so I don't know, I might get shot down. The PTR might crash. That's happened when I was trying to do it last time. So we'll see what we can do. I want to do a flyby first as part one of this, and then I want to do a part two video that just looks at the interlink, and I'm going to try to follow up with that right afterwards and link both of them together so that you can watch either or both. I will show you the Hossin map here shortly. Right now we don't have access to the entire thing, we just have the subsection in the middle, but it's still the bulk of the continent. This is what we're looking like. So this darkened area on the outside we don't have access to right now, but you can get an idea of the overall scope of the continent. It's more round than the square continents that we have right now. You also have the warp gates positioned pretty well, I think, without too much advantage or disadvantage. They are pretty much at the points of a triangle. And inside here is where you're starting right now. The garrisons are the temporary warp gates. I don't think they're actually going to be anything when Hossin goes live, but right now that's where you spawn on the PTR. So here's the interlink that we have access to at the moment, and this is the other interlink that we don't have access to yet, and there's two of them there. And then I'm going to take you around some of the rest of the map. But I do want to say, before this video even gets too far in, that I really love the continent so far. I love the changes. It's the first continent that I've played on that feels like I'm playing PlanetSide 1 10 years later. I think that's the best way of describing it. I actually, get that feeling that I'm on a Hossin with better graphics and upgraded technology, and you know what I'm saying? Like, compared to ItZMuRdA, it feels like a snow continent, and Amrish feels like a grassy continent, and Indar feels like a desert continent, but they don't give me the feeling of their predecessors, either Amrish or ItZMuRdA in PlanetSide 1, or if you want to compare Indar to Ishindar. They just give me that kind of same, setting and climate and stuff like that. But Hossin really feels like Hossin, and I really like that about it. I think that extends to the bases as well. The interlink facility, which I'll show you later, is a massive base, and for the first time it feels like I'm fighting in a PlanetSide 1 base. The indoors are sprawling, and they're huge open rooms, and it's I think it'll make for some amazing fighting. There's so many different angles of approach, and I'll get into that in the other video, but I just wanted to say, job well done. You can see how much care and love and effort has gone into this, because I'm really happy with it so far, and I'm very looking forward to seeing it on live servers, hopefully in a month or so. So anyway, I'm going to jump in a Reaver and fly around what we do have access to. There are some pretty cool bases as well, notably Nason's Defiance in the middle, and the Hunter's Blind down here in the south. But some others as well, Fogarty Dam, where they kind of take your typical small outpost or a tower and spin it on its head, really. So I'm gonna avoid the interlink fighting until later, as I segue into the other video. It is foggy. That is Hossin. It kind of normally is, especially if you have graphics to a point where they're very foggy, but that's something we can deal with. Lots of big trees, pretty awesome stuff. These small leaves you can fly through. The actual branches, of course, you can't. If you hit them, you'll die in an aircraft. There's a lot of changing terrain, rocks, small trees, large trees, swampy areas and cover and things like that I think are going to be reminiscent of PlanetSide 1 for a lot of people, for sure. And then there is... Here's one of the towers. It's just a basic tower with some outlying buildings and kind of that like amp station type of fortifications on the outside. Going further to the east would be the area, or to the south I should say, would be the area that's off limits at the moment. That's Hurricane up there. I'll come back to that later. Flying over one of the southern depots for it. And then here's another tower, basically a huge amount of trees. I think it's going to make for some awesome crossroads type fights on Hossin, with trees being used as light assault for ascent and descent and stuff like that. You see some walls familiar to ItZMuRdA for the C point over here, and for the B point over there, but not as walled in as ItZMuRdA in general. I think it still provides a really nice balance of everything. I'm going to fly down the Hunter's Blind, which is a pretty awesome one. See if I can't bind analog throttle over here in the meantime, just to assist me in hovering without slamming into things. Now, Hunter's Blind is an awesome base, the most awesome small outpost I've ever seen. I don't want to crash into stuff here, but as you can tell, it's basically a glorified tree fort, tree house, whatever you want to call it. There are some outside jump pads and grav lifts to get you up to it, but all the fighting is actually done in the treetops, essentially, which I think is a really great design. I think this base is going to be a lot of fun to fly around and to fight in and stuff like that. I just, when I saw it for the first time, I was like, wow. Not something I expected, and certainly not something you can gather just from looking at it on the map either. Fogarty looks like it has a person or two at it at the moment. I guess it'd be better to go over here to SRP first. Just another outpost on the outskirts of what we have right now, but it's got a pretty nice built-up central area here with some pretty interesting infantry fighting, without really too many walls to keep vehicles out completely, which I think is a fine enough balance. I like that they took a lot of ideas from what they learned from ItZMuRdA and Indar changes and revamps and applied them without overdoing it to give Hossin its kind of own separate feel. It's the VS forward garrison over there. I guess I'll kind of peel across here. I'm not sure the best way to do this when we've only got a subsection. Here's another base very similar to what I was showing earlier. A lot of tree cover even within the base and over the base. I think it's going to be really nice for those of us that hate dying to Liberators and stuff like that. I did notice yesterday some dome shields that were, I'm assuming, being tested on certain bases. I'm not sure if they're actually going to go in with them or not, but even the natural tree cover and difference in terrain here makes a huge difference for things like cover from vehicle shelling and stuff like that. So I really like it so far, everything about it really. Here's XTAB, which is an AM station. I'm just going to get out of here. It looks pretty much the same. Just don't really care for the mosquito to follow me. Going to fly over Fogarty Dam. It is a little bit contested right now, but it's another really cool base. There is all of this acid, I guess, essentially, with a big bridge over it. And then here's the actual base with a few mini bridges, the A point, and the spawn room back there. Note that if you touch the acid with a vehicle or yourself, you die instantly. It's not like funny colored water or anything like that. So there's the dam, which is going to take a hell of a lot to vault. Needs some jump jet upgrades or to take it very gradually or something like that, I suppose. These are the XTAB outlying areas that will fly pretty high over the AM Station Biolab General, or Tech Plant for that matter. Layout didn't change all that much, but it got a hell of a lot of trees and just general Hossin terrain and geography around it, which I think is pretty cool. Here's one of those dome shields I was talking about. This one is particularly low. You can fly through it. This is kind of just a nestled-in base over here, small outpost compound. And again, I'm not sure if the dome shields are just being tested or if this is what's proposed to go live with it. I only saw them on like 1 or 2 or 3 bases. Go up to here. And again, you're only getting a portion of the continent, basically just the center portion, but I'm sure the outside of it is equally as awesome. You'll notice a lot of the same themes throughout these different outposts and towers, which I think really resonates with the whole idea behind Hossin. Again, especially if you're a PlanetSide 1 player, really well. I'm looking at some really nice infantry combat, some really awesome aircraft combat by the looks of it, and yeah, now look at this biolab. This is like, I was just thinking when I first came here that it wasn't going to be too much different than a biolab, but it is completely overgrown, and I think that's awesome. If you take some of these jump pads, you actually fly through the leaves of the trees to the outside satellites. You'll also notice that the actual satellites are all down within the walls of the biolab. So I think that's a pretty interesting approach that you don't usually see with biolabs. It's completely tree covered. You're not going to get as much vehicle spam in there. There's going to be a ton of really awesome infantry fights down there, and you can tell what I mean by these are the actual satellites. They're all within the walls of it, rather than being like way on the outskirts, which I think is pretty nice and a unique touch to Akan. So I'm really actually excited to fight at that biolab. Sometimes they get pretty meat grinderish, but I think that one's going to be a fun one. I'm going to push our luck here and go back east to touch Vex Biologics, because I don't think we went over that base. And then we'll go back to Hatcher and come back down. This looks like it at least has a dome shield in place. Basically a hilltop base over here. Pretty cool design. Reminds you of some stuff on either the Ascent or some of the other bases on Amerish. But they just, like, each base feels like they have a really nice infantry feel to them when you're at the core of the base, yet are still approachable by vehicles of different types and stuff like that. I think, like I said, flying is going to be fun. Reverse maneuver changes aside, for a lot of people on this continent too, just like it has been on Amerish for a while. So I'm going to try to cover most of this other stuff. Just go Hatcher down to Wainwright, to Broken Vale, and maybe Nason's, and then back to Hurricane. I think that covers everything. And then I'll do, like I said, the interlink overview. So we're at Hatcher at the moment. Again, massive trees everywhere, which I love because it doesn't actually give you like obstructive cover, but it gives you intelligent cover, so that everything can't just be farmed from hundreds of meters away and things like that. Some pretty similar style bases down there, which is what I really like about the interlink facility. Seeing a brand new base design and lots of indoor improvements rather than the typical you go in one end, you come out the other end that we have for most indoor buildings right now. The interlink facility really turns that on its head and expands it tenfold. Flying over Broken Vale at the moment. My apologies if I'm not getting every angle of every base. I've crashed the desktop a few times. I've had people shoot me down, or whatever happened, and resources are kind of limited, so doing what we can here. So I'm going to go over to Nason's. Here's the dam again. This base is amazing. Probably going to become my favorite tower. I saw it on the map. It's the center base on the continent. I was thinking it's just another tower, but it's like Caliper called it the super stronghold. It is extremely fortified. It is not only a tower, but it's got like all the buildings around it, and then like this other kind of, I don't even know what to call it, just setup of turrets. And it's like if you wanted to fortify a tower as much as possible, this would be it. Like, look at how many turrets there are. I hate wall turrets, but I still love this base just because it looks so awesome. There's again the trees for approach, for ascent and descent. I think Light Assault's going to have a lot of fun on this continent, which I'm excited about because that's my favorite class. I just felt like I didn't get to play it a whole lot in the current game. There's some hollowed out log approach to the space from one side. I think it's really awesome. There's some vehicle bays that can still be accessed, so you're not just completely shutting out vehicles with these walls. When we were fighting here, we had Sunderers all up inside and everything like that, so I think that's going to be an amazing tower, both to attack and defend. I'm really excited about it. Now I'll run you over Hurricane and some of its outliers. Here it is as we're coming up on it, and then I'll do the actual inside overview in part 2 of the video. So this is basically the outside. This is your typical spawn room right below me. This is your giant satellite, and I'm sure I'm going to get shot down or something like that at some point. This is the A side of the base, which kind of reminds me of an amp station feel mixed with a ItZMuRdA base. I think it's a really awesome place for outdoors combat out here that still has enough cover for infantry and stuff like that. You kind of get the same thing on the other side over here by the B point. Like I said, there's so many angles of approach to this base. There's towers, then in the middle you'll see these energy shields here, which I'll go over more later. The color that they are, like they're the Vanu color right now, allows infantry to walk across them without falling through them. Like if I was to try to walk across those as a NC, I would just fall down. Of course you could light assault over them still, but those basically give you bridges that you can access from the ground by these jump pads that get you inside to the C point at the center of the base. And these bridges are controlled by terminals that are down in that room that anybody can essentially hack, like an infiltrator would hack the terminal. Just hold your button on it, and that's pretty much how that works. And I didn't even expect that at all, but it's like an extra little objective for people to do that you can check out. And then here's the very top of the base if you're interested in some light assault stuff. Getting shot at now, but that's probably a good segue, right? So we'll check out the indoorsiness of this base and what you can see on foot, and all of the amazing epicness of the Interlink facility here shortly. I'm just gonna restart this probably, or maybe even just go straight into it. I'm just thinking that I'm gonna probably die a lot, being NC and a VS base. That's pretty well held by them at the moment. But anyway, thanks for watching. As always, be sure to check out part 2. I'll have links for that all up on the screen and in the description and stuff like that, where we will get into the actual infantry part of the base, and I might just hop on VS for simplicity, so that I have a respawn here and stuff like that. But hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're looking forward to Hossin. Let me know what you think about the general continent itself, and maybe when we get some more access to these other places, I'll do an addendum to these videos and add a part 3 that looks at some of the new bases or any changes, because I'm sure it's still much more in development than the continents that we've typically seen at this point. So hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out the stream, ItZMuRdA.com or twitch.tv/ItZMuRdA_TV, where I stream PlanetSide 2 pretty much every day, always, unless there's some sort of reason why I wouldn't be. And be sure to check out part 2 of this video. And I will be streaming pretty much this whole weekend, of course, during SOE Live. Be sure to check out SOE Live stuff as well, twitch.tv/SOE, twitch.tv/PlanetSide2, and have a good one, guys. Let me know what you think about Hossin. I'm really excited about it.